Joining me now, I'd like to welcome Nhlamulo Ndlela, who is the MK Party spokesperson and also member of Parliament. Nhlamulo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you to your viewers or listeners.
Nhlamulo, a big one, of course, you guys have been able to get in Floyd Shivambu. Talk to us about what does he bring to this party, given that, of course, he's been there in the Youth League, he served at the highest levels of the economic freedom fighters. Talk to us about that.
I think you've just unpacked exactly why the guy is so valuable, right?
Yeah.
Look, here's the reality. He's got a solid background, politically so, and you would have heard the comments President Zuma was uttering there about him as a comrade and as a political activist, as a politician, and his ability to decipher scenarios scientifically so, but at the same time politically, right? So to have that kind of a person within the organization can only be an asset that can bolster the leadership of the party. And what he brings, I mean, he was part of one of the founding members of a political party, in this case the EFF, which is part of our progressive caucus, which we work with closely. And whatever lessons learned, then he'll be able to bring them to the fore here and assist the organization in professionalizing it, but also giving it some structure, which is what has been questioned, all the time when it comes to Mkhonto, to say, well, do you even have an organization? But sadly, again, people must remember, this is, in as much as people say, yeah, well, that party doesn't even have a structure, this is a party that beat you in elections with an interim structure. Now, we're going to formalize the organization, and guess what? Come 2026 elections, it's going to be fireworks. So he's going to bring a lot of experience in there, formations, branches, structures, and it can only be good from there. I mean, we've also got Mzwana Manyi, who's also got a lot of experience from a communications perspective, from multifaceted roles that he's played as well, including other members that are sitting in the NEC. Which we in this, I'll refer to it as an NEC because people refer to it as that, but we call it a National Interim Leadership Corps, or National Corps, Interim Leadership Corps. And these are people that are going to have oversight over the executive, give wisdom to how things should be run. And the good thing again is that the makeup of that leadership structure is represented at a provincial level. So you have all the provinces, they'll all have a voice, and so there'll be a top-down approach. So yeah.
Nhlamulo, I want to talk on branch levels because that's going to be where a lot of the work's going to be. You mentioned it, 2026, we are less than 2 years away before local government elections. So how much of that work is going to be important in trying to elevate the MK party, in challenging, in wards and municipalities and also in metros?
Well, it goes without a doubt, it goes without saying that it's critical that you establish branches and you establish yourself and the structures that can mobilize, the voter and our citizens, but also more so mobilize them through programs, because that's going to be strategic. What's going to be strategic is to ensure that we have programs, and it has to be community-based. Critical. The biggest challenge with most political parties is that they go and deploy their own people. We're saying we want our communities to be the ones that determine who leads them. So they must lead us into making a decision who must lead them. So the communities must lead from the back, if you know what I mean, in terms of whichever leader that they want to represent them, whether it be at a council level and the community level and so on, including region and so on and so forth, cascading right to the top of the organization. That's how it needs to operate. So we're going to go grassroots approach. It's going to be organic, and even the leadership is going to be a reflection of the organic wish.
Nhlamulo, 5 weeks ago it was obviously the opening of Parliament. I know that when you spoke to us at the time, of course, a lot of criticism, as it would be as an opposition party with President Cyril Ramaphosa's speech. How is the MK party, as the leader of this progressive caucus, going to hold the executive account, especially with regards to the government of national unity?
There's no such thing as a government of national unity. I mean, these people sit in committees. Firstly, there's no policy alignment. They've not even done their homework when it comes to that. Secondly, even the DA leader herself stated categorically that there is no such thing as a government of national unity. So as to why people still refer to this thing as a government of national unity, it's not a government of national unity. It's not formed off the back of a crisis. it's not representative of all the parties, the majority of parties in South Africa. I mean, 25% of the vote, just between ourselves and EFF, is not represented in the so-called government of national unity. There's no national unity here. All that is just a grand coalition. Cyril Ramaphosa went and basically sold and buttered the ANC vote to save his skin, nothing else. I refer to it as a Faustian pact, because that's exactly what it is. It's a deal with the devil. That's what a Faustian pact is, So he joined the Moonshot Pact, no, but he signed the Faustian Pact so that he doesn't get impeached. So there's nothing else. When it comes to holding them accountable in government, we, as you've seen, have deployed the best of minds. So we're going to be presiding over these state entities, these government departments, with people that have actually run them, who know them inside out. So naturally, who better than a person who has been there to hold you accountable in terms of your activities and in terms of your ability to deliver or govern? It's us.
Yes.
So that's why we're bringing in the kind of people that we bring in, competent people with experience, and certainly we'll bolster it with people that also understand how Parliament works, which has been great.
Nhlamulo, I want to touch on state-owned enterprises because now there's going to be a holding company that's going to be established, a lot of question marks with regards to it. I want to get the MK party's take with regards to that because we've seen how SOEs now have really not been run as much as a lot of people would have wanted it to be, maladministration, corruption, all of those things. So how is the MK party now going to come in and try and do an oversight view with regards to these state-owned enterprises or these state-owned enterprises company as Parliament wants to execute?
No, when we're calling for an oversight committee, there needs to be an oversight committee in this. If you listen to one of the speeches that I made, I refer to the fact that Cyril Ramaphosa was the chief negotiator in 1994 to the formation of this national government of national unity. 30 years later, we're still impoverished, but he still emerges, funny enough. The same person emerges, who was the chief negotiator then, who's now negotiating, collaborating with racists, taking the black vote, compromising our people, getting into a pact, and then wanting to, off the back of that, the same people that funded him to be a president, who he has outsourced our entities to, now tries to protect them. So you can tell that this is a deal that he cut with them. He has cut a deal here. He has sold us out. He's selling our state-owned entities to save his own skin. That's why he's taken those state-owned entities and put them in the presidency. He's trying to manage these state-owned entities as though they were Shanduka. He has outsourced Transnet to Bidvest. He's outsourced, Greenrod, Pretoria say to Greenrod and the traffic bureau friends of his. Instead of him signing the bill that unlocks petroleum resources locally, he won't even sign it. That's sitting with him. It's approved. He has to sign it. He's not signing it because his friends are benefiting from that. So he wants to sell his friend, Pravin, Mr. Joshua Doe wanted to sell SAA for 51 rand. That's all these people want to do. Total sellout. And all they can do, they just want to commercialize our country. Look at what's happening right now and watch what's going to happen. The municipalities, through now, Treasury, are being forced to either participate in a program of the commercialization and setting up of water entities, privatized water, funded by private...
Which is a right of every South African.
Yeah. Which is a right of every South African. And that now, we won't be able to afford water. The poorest of the poorest of people won't be able to afford water. Because the cost of actually, issuing or giving water to our people is going to be so encumbered with, one, policies that come, and punitive policies that come with the monies that are going to be invested from the IMF. And it's this so-called, usurping of our governance power and privatizing it for commercial gain. That's exactly what's happening here. And they're doing it at a local level, local government level. Guess where it's coming from? National Treasury. So that's what I'm saying. These people want to just take our country. They see it as South African Inc., but we're going to hold them liable. We're going to hold them accountable. Nothing's going to go without us having looked at it.
Nhlamulo, impeachment, I know this was a discussion when Mr. Shivambu was still with the Economic Freedom Fighters about bringing back the Pala discussion. Is that something the MK party and the rest of the Progressive Caucus would be looking at, and how do you intend on proceeding with that, should that be the case?
Look, impeachment is something that he cannot escape. It's a noose around his neck. The reason he went and sold out the ANC vote is because he was scared of being impeached. It's funny how, one wise man once told me, I'm actually thinking about this now as I'm speaking to you. He once said to me, thugs are so ruthless when it comes to beating up people, killing people, intimidating people. But the day it's the thug's day, where he is now facing a hiding, geez, you'd think that he's the most innocent person on earth, right? He went and he participated in impeaching Judge Thorpe. When it was time for him to be impeached, hey, it goes to the extent of even taking the black vote and doing what, and battering with it just to save his own skin. So that just tells you the kind of character that you're dealing with here.
Nhlamulo, one final question. I want to touch on foreign policy. The MK party has made it clear that they obviously are standing with Palestine. You see what's currently happening now with the genocide in Gaza. I wanted to take, we heard in the press conference that there is going to be something that's going to be discussed in policy conferences and all of that. But with regards to the MK party, Floyd Shivambu, when he was still with the EFF, brought, the downgrading or the actual cancellation of the Israeli embassy here in South Africa. Is that something the MK party is looking at with regards to that, so that there can be a sense of justice for the people of Palestine who are enduring this genocide right now?
Let me tell you one thing that we believe in. Firstly, this thing of casualties of women and children and innocent people who have got nothing to do with any sense of conflict whatsoever cannot be tolerated. You can't go and kill innocent people. We can't be doing that in this day and age. We can't. It's inhumane. It can't be. If you are going to pick a fight with me, I can't now go to the point of targeting your children and people who are, it can't be. The issue is between you and I. Let's resolve it in that way. If we have a friend who's supposed to play a role, as a
mediator
to mediate between you and I, and he doesn't play that role of mediating, that becomes a problem. So the question then we need to start asking ourselves is, when it comes to the UN Security Council, how are they playing it and how are they dealing with this? And what is this veto power thing if you can't use it? Is it become now a political tool? You need to be able to take a stance at some point if you've got a veto power to say, no, I'm against this. Abstaining, allowing it to perpetuate, is not correct. So, are we politicizing lives of people now? Has it gone to that point? So these are things that have to be discussed. If you look at, the geopolitics and the issues that are happening in that region. But again, these are things that will be discussed at policy level, and we'll give a concise, clear agenda. But all we're saying is that we're against what's happening in Palestine.
Nhlamulo, as always, thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal TV. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
That's Nhlamulo Ndlela, the spokesperson and member of parliament for the MK party. That's all we have for you here on News in Focus. Do join us again tomorrow. From myself, Ross Patel, and our camera operator, none other than Mr. Tabo Mbeje, and of course assisting us, Leokada Dlomu, and my producer, Rofiwa Gamshu. We thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.